The Verdant Accord was a marvel of galactic diplomacy, a space station shaped like an interlocking ring that orbited a calm yellow star. It was a place where the myriad species of the Galactic Federation came to resolve disputes, to trade, and to gawk at the impossibly diverse tapestry of sentient life. Today, the main council chamber was full to capacity, a rare event reserved for matters of great importance. The subject of this session was a new applicant for membership: humanity. The representative from the insectoid Cacthae species, Ambassador Chakrik, clicked his mandibles in a rhythm that the universal translators interpreted as deep-seated anxiety. He stood before the raised dais where the council's ruling members sat, his four upper limbs gesturing emphatically. And so, honored council, I must formally register my species' vehement opposition to the admission of this Homo sapiens. Chakrik's chitinous hide shimmered with a nervous, mottled pattern. We have completed our independent observation and cultural analysis. The findings are deeply disturbing. A murmur rippled through the assembled delegates. Ambassador Thrax of the aquatic cephalidri, whose tank dominated one corner of the chamber, pulsed a gentle blue light of curiosity. Disturbing in what way, Ambassador Chakrik? Are they prone to wanton violence? Do they lack a centralized governing body? Worse, Chakrik buzzed, his antennae drooping. They are what the old texts call Deathworlders. The chamber fell silent. The term was ancient, a classification from a more fearful era. A death world was a planet with extreme geological activity, then volatile climates, and a biosphere locked in a constant, brutal, evolutionary arms race. To evolve on such a world meant a species was forged in a crucible of relentless, often lethal, challenges. They originate from a planet with tectonic instability, atmospheric variability, and a staggering number of apex predators, Chakrik continued, projecting holographic images of Earth. A volcano erupted. A hurricane swirled over an ocean. A lion brought down a zebra. The assembled aliens shifted uncomfortably. Their biology is a testament to this chaos. They have no natural weapons, no claws, no fangs, no venom. Yet they rose to the top of their food chain through sheer, terrifying endurance. They can run for distances that would kill most other creatures. They heal from injuries that would be fatal to any civilized being. Their bodies are riddled with vestigial organs and redundant systems, a patchwork of evolutionary solutions to a hostile world. A reptilian delegate from the Vorash system hissed, "Endurance? Healing? These sound like advantages, Ambassador. Perhaps they are simply robust." "No," Chakrik's translator screeched, conveying his panic. "It is their minds. They are conditioned for survival, not cooperation. Their history is an unbroken chain of conflict, of one group dominating another. They are masters of deception, of pattern recognition, of innovation under pressure. They are a species that has not known a single generation of true peace. They will destabilize the Federation. They will see threats where none exist. They will—" "Ambassador Chakrik," a calm, synthesized voice interrupted. It came from the central dais, and from the shimmering, translucent form of the council moderator, a being of pure energy, known as the Lumine. "Your concerns are noted. However, the human delegation is here to address them directly. Let us hear from the source." Every eye, sensor, and eye stalk turned to the small, bipedal figures seated in the applicant's alcove. The human delegation consisted of three people: Ambassador Eva Rostova, a diplomat with steel-gray hair and a patient smile; General Marcus Thorne, a man with a ramrod-straight posture and eyes that seemed to miss nothing; and Dr. Eris Thorne, the general's daughter and the mission's chief science officer. Ambassador Rostova rose gracefully and walked to the central podium. "Honored Council, thank you for this opportunity. Ambassador Chakrik's description of our homeworld is, in essence, accurate. Earth is a challenging place. But his interpretation of what that means for us as a people is where we must respectfully disagree." She gestured, and the holographic images shifted. Instead of a lion, it showed a human woman gently tending to an injured bird. Instead of a volcano, it showed a community rebuilding a village after an eruption. Instead of a hurricane, it showed rescue workers pulling survivors from the floodwaters. Survival on a death world, as you call it, did not make us cruel, Rostova said, her voice firm and clear. It taught us the value of community, of cooperation. An apex predator is dangerous alone. Our ancestors learned that to survive the predators, they had to band together. To weather the storms, they had to build together. To overcome disaster, they had to help each other. That is a pretty fairy tale, Chakrik scoffed. But your history speaks of nothing but war. Global conflicts, genocides. You turned your ingenuity against one another. General Thorne stepped forward, standing beside the ambassador. Yes, we did, and we nearly destroyed ourselves because of it. But we also learned from it. Every war we fought taught us the horror of war. Every weapon we built taught us the responsibility that comes with power. We are not a perfect species, Ambassador, but we are a learning one. We stand here today not as conquerors, but as a people who have finally united under a single ideal, to reach for the stars together, not to escape our past, but to ensure we do not repeat it. Dr. Eris Thorne then spoke, her voice softer but carrying a weight of scientific authority. My field is xenobiology. I've studied the records of over 100 member species. I've seen the elegant, specialized biologies that evolved in stable, predictable environments. Your worlds are gardens. Ours is a jungle, but a garden is fragile. A single new pest, a shift in the weather, can devastate it. A jungle adapts. It thrives on chaos. She looked directly at the Kakthake ambassador. You fear our resilience, but consider this. What use is a strong ally if they crumble at the first sign of trouble? The Federation faces threats we haven't even imagined. Piracy, stellar phenomena, perhaps even things we cannot conceive of. Humanity, forged in the fires of a death world, does not break. We bend, we adapt, and we find a way forward. A tense silence followed. The council members exchanged glances and private subspace messages. The Vorash representative flicked his tongue thoughtfully. The Cephalidri ambassador pulsed a thoughtful, contemplative violet. We will deliberate, the Lumine announced. The human delegation will be escorted to their quarters. We will reconvene in 6 of your standard hours. As the human delegation was led away, Ambassador Chakrik approached them in the corridor, his carapace still flushed with agitation. You are very clever with words, he buzzed quietly. But you do not understand. The galaxy is a place of delicate balance. Your kind is a variable we cannot control, a chaos we cannot predict. The Council will see reason. General Thorne looked at the insectoid, his expression unreadable. We're not here to cause chaos, Ambassador. We're here to help. He paused, his gaze lingering on a flickering light panel in the corridor. But for what it's worth, I hope the Council makes its decision soon. Why? Chakrik asked, startled by the non sequitur. Because the lights have been flickering for the last 3 minutes, Dr. Eris said quietly, her eyes now fixed on the same panel. And according to the station's schematics I reviewed on the way here, that's not supposed to happen. The power grid is triply redundant. Chakrik's antennae twitched. A minor malfunction. It happens. At that precise moment, the world went dark. Not just the lights, but the artificial gravity, the life support hum, the subtle thrum of the station's core. Everything. The emergency systems didn't kick in. The backup generators didn't start. The station was suddenly, utterly dead. A profound, terrifying silence filled the corridor. Then, a new sound emerged, the one that made Ambassador Chakrik's blood run cold. It was the sound of General Thorne's voice, calm and steady in the pitch black. Status, the general said. It wasn't a question born of panic. It was a command. Emergency comms are fried, came Dr. Eris's voice from the darkness. No network, no internal sensors. Complete systems failure. We're looking at a station-wide blackout. Ambassador Rostova's voice followed, a touch of strain but no hysteria. This isn't a malfunction. A station this size doesn't just malfunction into a complete coma. In the other species, panic was beginning to bloom. The Kikthechke ambassador scrabbled at the walls with his claws, his translator emitting panicked clicks. From other parts of the station, muffled screams and the sounds of chaos could be heard. The delicate, the specialized beings of the garden were lost in the dark. General Thorne's hand found his daughter's shoulder, then Rostova's. Eris, do you have a mental map of this station's layout from those schematics? Yes, sir, she replied, her voice steadying as she focused on the task. We're in Sector 7 Green. The main power core is in Sector 1, at the heart of the ring. But without gravity, getting there will be interesting. We'll manage, Thorne said. Ambassador Chakrik, are you with us? The insectoid was hyperventilating, his multifaceted eyes useless in the absolute dark. With you? With you? Where are we going? We are helpless. We are blind. No, said Ambassador Rostova, her hand finding his trembling limb in the dark. A simple human gesture of comfort. We're not. We're from Earth. The lights go out there all the time. You just learn to find your way. The general took the lead. He couldn't see, but his mind was already building a picture, using Eris's whispered directions. We need to find a maintenance hatch. The station's architects, for all their genius, would have built in manual overrides and access tunnels for repairs. They're not meant for people, but they'll get us where we need to go. The next few hours were a nightmare for the Federation species trapped in the dark, but for the humans, it was a problem to be solved. They pried open a hatch with a strength that surprised even themselves, muscles forged by a lifetime of fighting gravity. They navigated the zero-G access tunnels by touch, pulling themselves along with their powerful arms. They encountered a Varash delegate, paralyzed with fear and wedged in a passage. General Thorne simply grabbed him by the scruff of the neck and towed him along. Dr. Eris, using her sense of touch and the faint residual heat from different panels, identified which conduits were still warm, tracing the path back to the core. Ambassador Rostova kept up a steady stream of calm, reassuring talk, not just for the humans, but for the terrified beings they were collecting along the way. They became a strange procession. 3 humans leading a growing parade of frightened, helpless aliens through the absolute darkness of their own station. The Kukthuk ambassador, clinging to a pipe, watched in stunned silence as a human woman with gray hair calmly talked a hysterical cephalidri out of its tank and into a makeshift water-filled bubble they jury-rigged from an emergency kit. Last, when they finally reached the access point near the main core, they found the problem. It wasn't a failure. The core's control panel had been deliberately sabotaged, and standing over it, bathed in the faint, ghostly light of a single emergency data slate, was the cause. It wasn't a monster. It was a creature of elegant, crystalline beauty, a Xylosian, one of the station's maintenance crew. Its crystalline form shimmered with an inner light, and in its manipulative appendages, it held a device that was clearly the source of the disruption. You, General Thorne said, his voice flat. The Xylosian turned, its form pulsing with a smug, steady light. The humans. I was wondering if you'd make it. It gestured with the device. Impressive. Most of the other species are just huddled in the dark, waiting to die. But you're different. Why? Dr. Eris asked, her scientific mind already cataloging the data. Why sabotage your own station? Because my people have watched the Federation for a long time, the Xylosian replied, its voice a crystalline chime. It has grown soft, complacent. It relies on its technology, its treaties, its fragile alliances. It has forgotten what it means to be strong, to be tested. It looked at the terrified cluster of aliens behind the humans. A single saboteur, and the great Galactic Federation is reduced to this. Pathetic. My people will not join this failing alliance. We will conquer it. Ambassador Rostova stepped forward. And what now? You kill us? It won't matter. The Federation will find out. I don't need to kill you, the Xylosian said. I just need to ensure the core is irreparably damaged. It will take cycles to rebuild. By then, my people's fleets will be in position. The chaos will be our cover. It raised the device, aiming it at the core's primary housing. The humans had seconds. In a garden variety species, those seconds would have been spent in paralyzing fear. But not here. On a death world, a second is an eternity. It is the difference between becoming prey and being the predator. General Thorne didn't hesitate. He pushed off from the wall with a force that sent him hurtling through the zero-G directly at the Xylosian. It was a purely instinctual, reckless act. The Xylosian saw him coming and, with a contemptuous flick of its wrist, sent a pulse of energy from its free hand that sent the general spinning off course, crashing against a far wall. It was faster, more agile in zero-G. While the Zyglotian's attention was on the general, Ambassador Rostova did the most human thing possible. She talked. "You're making a mistake," she said, her voice calm and reasonable. "You think this is strength? Sabotage in the dark? That's not conquest, it's cowardice." "Silence, primitive," the Xylosian snapped, its focus momentarily divided. And in that single moment of distraction, Dr. Eris Thorne, the scientist, the one who had studied their biology, acted. She had noted how the Xylosian's body pulsed with a steady light, a biorhythm. She had seen how it used that energy. In her hand, she held a small, dense tool she'd taken from the maintenance tunnel, a simple chunk of hardened metal. She didn't have the general's strength, but she had her father's aim. With a grunt of effort, she hurled the tool not at the Xylosian's body, but at the delicate crystalline appendage holding the device. The tool struck true. There was a sharp musical crack, like a breaking wine glass. The Xylosian shrieked, its appendage shattering. The device spun away into the darkness. The Xylosian recoiled, its light flickering with pain and rage. It turned its full attention to Dr. Eris, raising its functional hand, energy building for a killing strike. It never got the chance. A massive, powerful hand clamped down on its fractured limb from behind. General Thorne, having pulled himself silently back across the ceiling, was there. He wasn't fast, he wasn't elegant, but he was strong, and he was relentless. "You made 2 mistakes," he growled in the Xylosian's ear. "You assumed we were weak, and you turned your back on a predator." With a final sickening crunch, the general's grip shattered the creature's core structure. The Xylosian's light flickered once, twice, and then went dark, its body tumbling limply in the zero-G. An absolute silence fell over the group. The aliens stared wide-eyed at the scene. The fearsome, technologically superior saboteur had been brought down not by a fleet, not by a weapon, but by a middle-aged general, a diplomat, and a scientist with a thrown tool. General Thorne pushed the inert body aside and drifted towards the core's control panel. "Eris, can you fix this?" Dr. Eris was already there, her hands moving over the controls. "The primary ignition sequence is fried, but I can bypass it. Reroute power from the secondary relays. It'll take a few minutes, and it'll be a rough startup." "Do it." As she worked, Ambassador Chakrik drifted forward, his carapace a dull, ashen gray. He looked at the general, then at the broken Xylosian, then at the humans. His translator was silent for a long time. Finally, he spoke, his voice a faint, humbled buzz. You saved us, all of us. Why? We were your accusers. I was your enemy." Ambassador Rostova looked at him, a tired but genuine smile on her face. "You weren't our enemy, Ambassador. You were just afraid. And out there in the dark, everyone is a neighbor." A low hum began to build. The lights in the access tunnel flickered, then blazed to life. The gravity kicked back in with a lurch, sending everyone tumbling to the floor in a heap of limbs, tentacles, and chitin. But no one complained. They just laughed, a strange multi-species sound of pure relief. Hours later, the council chamber was a different place. So the Xylosian saboteur was in custody. The station was secure, and the human delegation stood once more before the dais. The Lumine spoke, its synthesized voice resonating with a new tone, one of profound respect. "The events of this day are unprecedented. A lone saboteur nearly crippled this station. And in our moment of greatest weakness, when our advanced technology failed us, we were saved by the very species we were debating. The Lumine turned its shimmering form towards Ambassador Chakrik. Ambassador, you spoke of humanity as a chaotic variable, a danger to the delicate balance of the Federation. But today, that chaos, that ability to adapt, to problem solve, to act with courage and compassion in the face of the unknown, was the only thing that stood between us and disaster. Ambassador Chakrik rose. He walked slowly to the center of the chamber and turned to face the human delegation. He then did something no Kukki had ever done in front of another species. He lowered himself to the floor, his antennae touching the ground, the deepest sign of respect and apology in his culture. I was wrong, he buzzed, his voice clear and steady for the first time. I looked at your world and saw only danger. I was too blind to see the strength. You are not Deathworlders because you come from a place of death. You are Deathworlders because death itself could not stop you from reaching out to help others. The Federation does not need to protect itself from humanity. It needs to learn from it. The vote was unanimous. Humanity was admitted to the Galactic Federation, not in spite of being from a death world, but because of it. And as the human delegation left the chamber, a young aide from a species whose name they couldn't yet pronounce stopped them. General Thorne, Ambassador, there's a communication for you. It's from your System Defense Command. They say it's urgent. General Thorne took the communicator. His face, moments ago relaxed in victory, became a mask of stone as he listened. He looked at his daughter, then at Ambassador Rostova. The Xylosian saboteur wasn't working alone, he said quietly. There are 3 more ships. They've just entered the system. They're demanding our unconditional surrender, or they'll start bombarding our colonies. The corridor fell silent. The aide's eye stalks trembled. Ambassador Rostova took a deep breath. Then, we have a new problem to solve. Dr. Aris looked at the station's wall, at the lights that were now burning steadily, and then at the terrified aide. Don't worry, she said, a small, grim smile playing on her lips. The lights are on now, and we're not afraid of the dark. General Thorne straightened his uniform, the weight of a new, unimaginable war settling on his shoulders. But in his eyes, there was no fear. There was only the cold, focused light of a predator who had just been given a new target. Get me a secure line to the Federation Defense Command, he said, his voice ringing with command. And then get me a line to Earth. Tell them the new guys are bringing a gift to the Alliance. Our first real test. The humans walked towards the communications hub, leaving a trail of bewildered and hopeful aliens in their wake. The galaxy had just learned a valuable lesson. And you can warn a Deathworlder all you want, but when the lights go out, they're the ones you want by your side. And when a new threat appears, they're the ones you want in front. This response is AI generated for reference only.